Hey YouTube, it's Evan Magician 34, and I've got another deck that this one's sort of, I guess, what you call a special spin on a fairly common theme. It's Tengu plants in the truest sense, but I've got a few changes that you might want to try out. These are neat and it plays well. Obviously, 3 copies of Reborn Tengu, very, very good card. The only way he can get screwed up basically is if he gets spun by an effect like Rise or Phoenix Wingwind Blast that puts him on top of your deck. That's ruled to cancel his effect. But anything else, yeah, he just always guarantees you that level 4. Awesome. 2 copies of Lone Fire Blossom, 1 copy of Dandelion, 1 copy of Spore, and 1 copy of Glow Up Bulb, the standard 5-card plant suite. And also, especially Lone Fire invites the presence of this card, Debris Dragon, instant 7-star Synchro, but it can also do some other cool stuff, like make an Iron Chain Dragon, because it has to sync for a dragon, stuff like that. Really good card. We're also running 2 copies of this card, Junk Synchron. We're running him because we have some 2-stars we like to lash back, and that's obviously, this guy getting back a 2-star is 5, and you add him to your Tengu, and that's a very fast Dragon the Ice Barrier Trishula. So obviously making Trishula is a good thing, and doing it very quickly can be a good thing. Using Junk Synchron, we can probably pull it off reasonably as soon as like turn 2 or 3. Now Raikos often go with this, but there are so many cards in this deck that I find I really don't want to send straight to the grave, and only a handful that I do. And instead of using Raiko, who's kind of the usual option, I'm using this card, Nimble Momonga. It's an oldie, but it's a goodie. 2-star beast, and when he dies in battle, he can go get you 2 other Nimble Momongas out of your deck, face down defense mode. So basically, you set him, or get your opponent to kill him one way or another in battle, and then he gets you 2 more Momongas. Enter your turn, you flip summon those 2 Momongas, summon your Junk Synchron to bring back that 3rd one, which was the one that got the other 2 anyway, sync for Trishula. One more way you can do it. And the fact that this guy's a 2-star beast gives you an interesting syncing option for 5 with Junk Synchron, but more on that later. We're also running Sangan, who can search out many of the cards in this deck, including Junk Synchron. He also gets Debris Dragon, Lone Fire, tons of good options. We're running 3 copies of Kai's the Shadow Monarch, because we're often going to get some tribute material, and this guy is an excellent thing to tribute into. He's still one of the best 1 tribute monsters in the game, frankly, and his removal effect is very hard to get around. A lot of negation effects exist right now, but almost all of them are for destruction effects. This guy doesn't destroy. And he can hit any card, which is a bonus. I'm also running 1 copy of Morphing Jar. This can help keep your hand going. It builds speed, helps you get off that critical momentum turn. You can say set your True Nade, or just go ahead and activate it early and then flip him, or something like that. He's also another target for Junk Synchron, which doesn't hurt. We're running 1 copy of Gorz the Emissary of Darkness. He's just a good recovery card when your field gets low, which won't be that uncommon. We're also running 1 copy of Effect Veiler. You can Sangan to search for it, and it combos with a couple of other cards that are coming up rather nicely. And of course, the fact that he's a 1-star tuner doesn't hurt, and he goes well with Gorz. Or she, as the case may be, whichever. Monster Reborn, Dark Hole, Giant Trunade. Most of these should be self-explanatory. 2 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon. 1 copy of Mind Control. We have an abundance of tuners, and Mind Control can give some really good options. And if nothing else, it can get you around annoying sets. It can help counter a Scrap Dragon on the other side of the field, and Bryanak, stuff like that. Plenty of good uses for this card in this deck. It really does belong. Book of Moon. It'll help stop synchros. It can shut off powerful effects by turning the monster face down. It can make things easier to kill by changing them to the usually unfavorable defense mode. So many good uses for this. No reason not to run that either. We're also running 2 copies of Pot of Avarice. There are so many things we want to send back to our deck, like Tengu, ignoring the 2 cards. I mean, it's just a really powerful, very good card. It's also good for recycling your synchros, so definitely a must-have in here. And an often underrated and misunderstood card that's really just doesn't get the playtime it deserves, Creature Swap. There are many, many, many cards in this deck you want to swap to your opponent. Sangan, Mamanga, things you might even bring back with a Debris Dragon or Junk Synchron. This can help you create creative synchros. You can even summon effective alien attack mode and creature swap it. Bottom line, a lot of people usually leave very powerful creatures alone by themselves on the field. This is a great way to steal them and stick them with a lousy monster in return. Give them your Tengu, hit it, steal back a Tengu, attack them with a new Tengu. Just an excellent card all the way around. Absolutely no reason you wouldn't want to run this in a lot of other decks too, but this deck, definitely it belongs. It's a good game upsetter if you can play it correctly. We're also running Call of the Haunted. This can help us build good synchros, bring back powerful monsters, etc. Solemn Judgment, because this is almost as good as a True Nade if you play it correctly. Torrential Tribute. There's still so many things that can be so easily upset by Torrential Tribute. Its timing is much better than Mirror Force, realistically, because the game is so monster-centered, more now than ever. So, that's a definite inclusion. We're running 2 copies of Bottomless Trap Hole. Removing stuff from play is difficult for opponents to overcome. Gets rid of big things, often synchros. And last but not least, we're running 2 copies of Compulsory Evacuation Device. It screws up synchros, both before they're made and after. It can get around set monsters. Lots of ways to upset your opponent with this card. It's a very good choice. And, you know, worst case scenario, this can even save your Tengu from an otherwise unpleasant fate. Like if your opponent is, say, Frogs and they tribute someone for Ryza or something ridiculous like that, then you can compulse your own Tengu. You're probably not going to want to do that, obviously, but, you know, you can. Alright, the extra deck, I am going to ask you to run 2 Trishulas, and the reason I'm asking you to run 2 Trishula Dragon of the Ice Barrier is because you are going to sync for him, reasonably speaking, more than once in a good game, quite possibly. So it's good to have the second one to target, and it's probably going to be more useful for the way you're playing than a Mistworm, and part of that is because you're running Debris Dragon, and part of it is just the timing for when you're likely to be summoning it. We're running 1 copy of Stardust Dragon, 1 copy of Scrap Dragon, 1 copy of Red Dragon Arc Fiend, 1 copy of Colossal Fighter. He's a great thing to ram into opposing creatures. 2 copies of Black Rose Dragon. Obviously, that has a lot to do with Debris Dragon. Bryanak, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. Remember, contrary to his name, he's actually a Sea Serpent. Resolution on my camera probably is not going to let you see that, but yeah, he's a Sea Serpent, not a dragon, so you can't debris for him. Remember that. Iron Chain Dragon, you're a 6-star dragon of choice. It's not, you know, it's not perfect, but it gets the job done. And he is fairly big. Gaia Knight, for when you need to sync for 6 and don't necessarily want to burn your Bryanak or your Iron Chain, you bring out this guy, the 2600 point Dragon Slayer. And then the 5-star slot, we got quite a bit actually. We have Ally of Justice Cataster, pretty obvious choice. Junk Warrior, this guy can be a platform for other syncs, but he also plays well with Junk Synchron, and the fact that you can flip some of the mangas to make this guy really big. It seems unlikely, but it, you know, unlikely plays can turn out to be very successful ones, and you might be doing this one more than you think. We also run Frozen Fitzgerald. He just needs a Dark Tuner and a Beast material, and that's basically just Momonga plus Junk. 2500 point guy, you can ram him into a 2500 point target, and then if you got no other monsters on the field, he'll just special himself back in his 2500 defense. It's pretty darn good, plus he's got an Ancient Gear monster effect, that is, they can't activate spells or traps when he attacks, which is pretty cool. The last slot is Magical Android, basically, honestly, because I don't have TG Hyper Librarian right now. Feel free to run Hyper Librarian in this slot, but if you don't have it right now, which a lot of people don't, the Android is okay. It's not going to kill you to run the Android, and the life gain can even benefit you occasionally, believe it or not. So, anyway, either way, that's the end of your extra deck. There's the main deck. And until next time, rate, comment, subscribe, and check out my channel for more videos.